that all parties should maintain status quo ante bellum. What it means is that we should maintain the status as if before the crisis, and people should not take steps to change the position. If you open an office, you are not maintaining the status quo ante bellum. If you go ahead to start holding meetings, you are not maintaining the status quo ante bellum. So it's an interpretation of the court order, and there is nothing wrong with it. There is nothing wrong with that procedure, with the decision. While we do not mind our people having different opinion and different position from we at the National Working Committee, to carry it further will be dangerous to the growth of the party, and that's why we went to the court for a full interpretation of what the true position is.
Well, looks to some close watchers that these people, the splinter group, because they already have what they call Plan B, and they say they can't sail with their Plan A, they'll go to Plan B, and Plan B is to pitch tent with the APC. And looking at the front page of today's Vanguard, we're getting to see something which is attributed to you, that APC is irrelevant in our crisis. What exactly did you mean by that?
Well, Suleiman, first, I'm a bit uncomfortable that in this interview we are focusing on what we call challenges in our party. The issue of democracy and the issue of democratic growth should be on the achievements of the party at the various states and at the center. Let us focus on what the president has been able to do in the midst of the force majeure that we had in terms of the Boko Haram, the violence we had in various states here in the north, and yet the president has been able to perform exceedingly above all expectation in the midst of the challenges that we've had. Let us focus on the good things about the party. The fact that this party is the only party, like the president said last night, that has retained its identity since 1999. Let us focus on the fact that this party is the only party that builds on the unity of this country and fights for national interest. Let us focus on the fact that this party has a collection of talent, the greatest collection. We saw last night individuals, people who have been made by the party, people who have served at various levels. They came together last night to celebrate the growth of the party. It's a big party. All countries, every country in this world, that has democracy, they have big parties that sustain the democracy. The PDP sustains the democracy in Nigeria. If we had another party that's been in office, they would have changed their names severally. They've changed their identity, and that is not good for the growth of this party. So PDP is very good, very big. Let us focus on the good things. Now you mentioned about APC. Why will APC be bothered about what happens in the party? We are not interested in what happens in their party. For them to make comment on what happens in their party they are meddlesome interlopers. They have no reason whatsoever to interfere in our affairs. Whatever they feel, whatever they think, whatever their position is insignificant. It's of no effect whatsoever. This is an opposition party that has not been able to sustain any kind of opposition except abuse, except hurling insults at the president or the leadership of the party or the ruling party. They have nothing that they have offered. They have never debated any issue. They have not offered any alternative. They have no other platform to discuss except to interfere in the internal affairs of the party. I wish them luck, but we do not listen to them. They have no effect whatsoever. Some of these governors have mentioned that they will never, ever go to APC. We know what APC represents. APC is an amalgamation of people with tribal interest, people that corrupt individuals that build on the fiefdom of a state, and they collect all the monies there. Issues of corruption and the tribal and ethnic politics cannot come together and form national interest. So we do not care about what they think because there is no opposition. What we are focused on is to ensure on the unity of our leaders, and that will continue to build on it.
You spoke about nothing wrong in sealing off a non-existent office, and that the court says maintain status quo ante bellum. But we do have some lawyers who have said maintaining status quo ante bellum means just stay action, don't do anything whatsoever, because if you come to that decision that it's a non-existent office, don't you think that you've jumped the gun, because it's the court that is supposed to determine that? And so some also argue that you didn't have to go sealing up the offices, because if they had done anything contrary, the courts are still there to determine whether or not what they had done afterwards can be determined as disobeying the court order which says maintain status quo ante bellum.
Chamberlain, I don't know the lawyers that you've spoken to, but these lawyers are free, very free to offer their services to any other person or any other individual in court. They can come to court for full interpretation of what the order is. But for us, we believe that status quo ante bellum means that they cannot open an office, they cannot run an office, because they didn't have an office before we started the case. They didn't have an office while we went to court. So they cannot go ahead and change their position while the court has ruled that we maintain status quo ante bellum. But for these free lawyers, for these lawyers who are always quick to come and interpret things on TV, they can go and offer their services. I mean, a lot of individuals, a lot of persons can pay for their services, or they can do that free of charge. It depends on them. But for us, we know what the Constitution says, we know what the law says, and we will never disobey the laws of the land.
Mr. Metu, if I may just ask you a question. You said you were uncomfortable discussing the problems of a party. You are aware that a host of people have been saying that, you know, in most parties in Nigeria, I mean, your party, the opposition party, which you say is non-existent, that the issues of internal democracy are part of the things that make people not want to join politics. And that, you know, since the PDP is the party that has consistently produced the leaders of this country, I mean at the national level, the party should not shy away from having its problems discussed, because at the end of the day, internal democracy is the only way we can rest assured that we get the right candidates to vote when election time comes. Why are you uncomfortable about discussing the problems in your party?
Well, Marpe, I'm not, I didn't mean that I'm very uncomfortable discussing the challenges that we have in that party. I've been doing that for the past 20, 30 minutes. What I'm saying is that the challenges that we have pale when compared to the achievements of the party. So I'm more comfortable discussing the contribution of PDP to national growth. I'm more comfortable discussing the achievement of elected and appointed officers in office. That is what democracy is all about. Democracy is not about celebrating the negatives or celebrating issues that you have. Democracy is about celebrating the contributions and the achievements of people in development in the country. That's what democracy is all about. But then you said something about our party and internal democracy, and for people to continue to show interest in the party, in politics. Now, internal democracy does not in any way represent what I'll call I don't want to say rebellion, but internal democracy. When you have a constitution of a party, there are issues therein, that there are provisions where you can use to solve your problem. But internal democracy does not mean that for you to show that you practice internal democracy, you have to be completely opposed to the president that you elected, or to people who you've elected in office at the National Assembly, at whatever. A confrontation does not represent internal democracy. There's a large line dividing both. So internal democracy means that you, even in states, you do not allow the feelings of one man, the feelings of a governor to overrun the